Hello everybody and welcome back to the United Stand and happy Tuesday. I am Beth and I'm here with all your latest Manchester United news and transfer news. And Manchester United can't let this happen. We will be getting into it. What can Manchester United not let happen? It is Manchester City beating us on near enough every transfer race we're going to start to go into. When you've got Pep Guardiola and there's rumours he's going to stay for an extra year, when you're willing to give out a massive wage, it's going to be hard to compete with Manchester City. And as Manchester United fans, it is really difficult to sit here and say that, acknowledge it. And I've been sort of blocking it out and thinking to myself, no, we will win the race for Elliot Anderson. We'll get there. It's Manchester United. We'll get the deal done. Well, it's looking more and more likely that Elliot Anderson is going to sign for Manchester City. I've been speaking to someone this morning who I'm not going to reveal their name, but it's someone who is got a lot of experience in the industry. And they basically said to me that Elliot Anderson to Manchester City is everything but signed. And I'm not saying that is absolutely the case. I'm not saying it is 100% fact. And you could say, you know, what do you know about sources and everything like that? You can have your opinion, but I'm just saying I've spoken to someone who has good connections in the industry and they said, don't obviously say that I've said this, but Elliot Anderson to Manchester City is essentially done and anything can happen, but it's everything but signed and apparently they're going to offer him quite a big wage and there's rumours Pep Guardiola is going to stay. And when you've got all of them factors and Manchester United don't want to break the wage structure, Manchester United haven't got a project to present to the player as of now. Like, if Man City are already talking to Elliot Anderson and currently Manchester United, if they want to enter them conversations, what can you pitch to the player? We don't have a manager in place. We don't know who our manager is going to be. And there's a lot of things up in the air. We might not even get Champions League football. I think we will. And I'm desperate for us too. I cannot wait for Champions League football back at Old Trafford next season. But it's how you follow that up. Are we going to be able to compete in the Champions League? Are you going to do a big summer to evolve the squad into being able to be competitive in the Champions League and in the Premier League? What can you pitch to that player? So Manchester United can't let this keep happening. However, this can all change in the sense of Sandro Tonali. Elliot Anderson is my number one midfield target, and even if Manchester City sign him, which looks pretty likely, I'll not change on that. He has always been my number one midfield target since I can remember this season. He has absolutely got himself up there. I think he ticks every box. We've spoken about this numerous times. And if Manchester United miss out on getting Elliot Anderson to Manchester City, the second player this year, first of all, was Semenyo. Semenyo went in the January transfer window. If we then miss out on Elliot Anderson as well, it isn't a good look. But how do you change that perception? How do you change that look? You get the next best thing. And some would argue even better. I know there's talks about this and there's debates about this of who is your top midfield target. And there will be quite a few Manchester United fans who would say Sandro Tonali is their top target, even over the likes of Elliot Anderson. Now, if Manchester United go and pull off Sandro Tonali, people will forget you lost that transfer battle with Elliot Anderson. So it's not Elliot Anderson or nothing. There absolutely is other options out there. And it's been heavily reported today that Sandro Tonali is jumping up to the top of Manchester United's list. And this isn't a surprise. Look, it's not going to be out there straight away that there's no chance of Manchester United going and getting Elliot Anderson. And I still hold a candle that we will be able to go and do that. But if we don't, Manchester United have to be prepared. And if you're getting sort of rumours and murmurs and whispers that Elliot Anderson's practically nailed on to go to Manchester City, you've got to start lining up other options and other good, big options as well. And I also heard that Sandro Tonali has sort of jumped from around 10th in the midfield shortlist to around 2nd or 1st in the midfield shortlist for Manchester United. Apparently Manchester United really like him. That's just what I'm hearing. Of course, I'm not saying it's absolutely gospel. That's just some information that I got told. And that sort of aligns with everything that's coming out today. So let's jump straight into the news. And this is coming out from Italy. Remember that Sandro Tonali has excellent links with Italy. So this is what's coming out from Italy. Manchester United officials have confirmed that Sandro Tonali is high on their list as a player to help rebuild the midfield. His signing would cost around £90 million, and the player could be open to a move depending on Manchester United's European qualification. Manchester United have identified the Newcastle midfielder Sandro Tonali as a top priority to succeed Casemiro, as the club aims to strengthen and rebuild their midfield for the 26-27 campaign. And that is coming in from Tutto Sport. So Tutto Sport, a very good Italian outlet, is reporting that Sandro Tonali is at the top of Manchester United's list for the summer midfield rebuild. Now, I have stated on the show, I think quite a few times now, that the three midfielders, if I was in charge of recruitment at Manchester United, and three gettable midfielders I'd go for to rebuild Manchester United's midfield would be Elliot Anderson, Bruno G and Matheus Fernandes of West Ham. Matheus Fernandes is sort of that more budget, younger option to come in as the third midfielder, and the two big hitters being Bruno G and Elliot Anderson. With Elliot Anderson isn't going to be on the table because Manchester City are going to sign him, Sandro Tonali absolutely comes to the top of that list. I mean, I would have been happy with Sandro Tonali anyway. There's not anything about the fact he's not made my top three, which means I don't want him. I think Sandro Tonali is an absolutely fantastic player and one of the best midfielders in the Premier League. I do believe that. But if I could only pick one of him or Bruno G, because, I mean, we can talk about picking players out of Newcastle all they want. There is absolutely no chance on this earth that Newcastle are letting both Bruno G and Sandro Tonali go in this summer window, whether they get Europe or not, and it's looking like they won't. But if they don't get Europe, they are going to have to sell an asset. They will have to sell one asset, and it's who goes first. They're not going to let both of that duo go. I mean, they're absolutely important to Newcastle. They're the heartbeat of Newcastle. So who'd you go for? My preference was Bruno G and probably still would be Bruno G, just because, and it's personal preference, I feel like he ticks every box of what we need. I feel like we do need experience, and he's got experience. He's been a captain. He is a captain. He plays in a way that I think would massively excel in that Manchester United team. He's got bags of personality. However, Tonali is also an excellent player. He's probably a little bit more defensive than Bruno G, which you could argue that Manchester United need. And I'm not fussy, I'd take either. We won't get both, and both won't move. There's rumours that Tonali is going to go to Arsenal, but then I sit here and I question to myself, will Arsenal be able to guarantee him the playtime that he would want and require? Are they really going to play a midfield three of Zubimendi, Rice and Tonali? I mean, I know that Arteta likes to play defensive and likes team shape and likes Tony Pulis ball and Stoke FC, but come on. Like, yes, that would be a very strong midfield, but where is that creative number 10 that you want to have in your team, especially if you're competing at the top level? So then I question that. There is reports of him wanting to go back to Italy, and I could see that happening, but what Italian team are going to be able to pay 80, 90 million, which is what his rumoured price tag would be? And I can understand why Newcastle would want 80, 90 million, because he's at a brilliant age, you know, he's got a good injury record, he's a top quality player, and it's a position that is very much desired in world football. Of course they're going to want a big price for him, and he is worth a big price. And Manchester United have got the money to go and spend big on the midfield area this summer. That is the plan. Everybody knows Manchester United is going to go big on the midfield. So Man United could go out there and could go and get him, and we could offer the price that Newcastle would want. It's not going to be an easy deal. But then when I see Sandro Tonali being linked to Arsenal, when I see him being linked back to Italy, and people say, well, apparently Arsenal's the top destination for a Premier League club, apparently he wants to go to Italy. To me, you could also pitch it in a different way. Does Sandro Tonali just want to move out of Newcastle? And I don't think he'd ever come out and say, I want to move from Newcastle. We've had Ben Jacobs on the show before saying he'd be very respectful to Newcastle. He's highly appreciative of Newcastle, of the way they stuck by him during the betting scandal and the ban and everything like that, and the contract he got and the way that they were loyal to him. And he would never force his way out of Newcastle. However, agents did leak the story to Arsenal in the January transfer window, and there is numerous stories coming out of Italy, you know, coming out of England about Sandro Tonali leaving Newcastle this summer. And the bit in the report from Tutto Sport about he could move to Manchester United depending on European qualification for £90 million, again shows he's probably going to want some sort of European football, and Newcastle don't look likely to get it. If you offer Sandro Tonali a good wage, Champions League football, a position in Manchester United's team in a midfield rebuild where you're looking to go and dominate in the Premier League and the Champions League, that is going to be attractive to any player. So I don't think Tonali is off the table. I think he's bang on the table. And if Elliot Anderson is going to Manchester City because they are more of a sell than Manchester United, which is horrible to hear as a Manchester United fan, but we've got to face reality. I don't like to accept it, but even people in the office have been saying, Beth, come on, you've got to kind of accept it now. Manchester City, they're going to win transfer races over United if they can offer multiple things United don't have. And you don't want to face the music. But if you are going to lose out on your top target that you have been pushing is your top target all season, the only way you can sort of get through that with pride and dignity is to go and sign a player like Sandro Tonali, which is going to make the rest of the Premier League look up and say, wow, what a signing that is. He's got everything that Manchester United need in a midfielder. I think he creates such an amazing duo with Kobbie Mainoo. I think the only aspect you'd worry about in a midfield duo with Tonali and Kobbie Mainoo is the aerial ability that Casemiro brings, and that's something you'd have to look at. But he's got so much to his game that would benefit Manchester United and take that midfield up to the next level. He's very well respected across the Premier League. He's got Premier League experience. He's at a brilliant age to bring in and come in and have multiple top years out of. The rest of the Premier League would look up and say, wow, that is a serious signing. And that's how you pivot away from not being able to get Elliot Anderson. You go and sign the likes of Sandro Tonali and make everybody realise, OK, Manchester United still have a bit about them. They've got it in them. They got Mbeumo, they got Cunha last year. Now they've gone and got Tonali. Yeah, OK, Anderson's gone to City. OK, yes, Semenyo's gone to City, but you can't win them all. They've gone and got Tonali out of Newcastle. That's where you really make a splash. So I think it is absolutely on the table. And the fact that multiple of these reports are coming out from Italy, I think that deal's there. And Bruno Guimaraes is absolutely still in the equation. I saw Gold talking about this morning. It's coming out via the MEN just now that Manchester United admire both Tonali and Bruno Guimaraes. The club would make a move for either player if they became available at the end of the season. So don't rule out Bruno Guimaraes. It's who goes first. But if you look at Sandro Tonali and you look at his age range and you look at his injury record and you look at every attribute he possesses, at 25 years of age, and OK, yeah, he turns 26 on the 8th of May, that fits Manchester United's model more than what Bruno Guimaraes does. If we sign Sandro Tonali, the start of next season, if he's wearing a Manchester United shirt, he's starting the season 26 years old, he's got multiple years left in him, he's still got massive sell-on value, and you've got a player that is going to give you his best years, that he's got the experience and got the Premier League proven capabilities to come into your team and be absolutely top level straight away, but he's still got sell-on value for later down the line. He fits that model of 26 and below that it feels like Manchester United are venturing into and are using and sticking to. You go and sign Bruno Guimaraes, you're paying big money, similar money to what you'd pay for Sandro Tonali, and he starts the season at 29 years of age. I don't think that's a bad thing. I think Manchester United are crying out for experience, especially with Casemiro leaving. I don't think it's a bad thing Bruno Guimaraes being 29, but it doesn't quite fit that model. We didn't go for Ollie Watkins because of it. We did not want to spend big money on Ollie Watkins because he was close to being 30 years of age and we knew we wouldn't get that money back for him. We knew if we went and paid 50, 60 million for Ollie Watkins, we're paying that money, we're paying a big wage and we're not going to get any money back. And with Bruno Guimaraes, as good as he is, that would be in the back of Manchester United's head with the model that they employ. Are we going to get any money back for this guy at 29 years of age? We're going to have to go and pay 60, 70 million for him out of Newcastle. Are we going to get that money back? If it was under the old regime, I mean, we probably wouldn't even have the initiative to go for the Premier League quality of a Bruno Guimaraes or a Tonali. But we went out there and paid 70 million for Casemiro. When he wasn't a spring chicken, and we didn't bat an eyelid at it. We went and gave him 350 grand a week as well. That was the old regime. Now we are much more reluctant. It's the same reason we went for Senny Lamans and not Emi Martinez. Big wage, not the youngest player out there. And even as a goalkeeper, like, your prime is much older and Emi Martinez isn't viewed as old, but you're not going to get the money back that you've put in. And with Senny Lamans, big sell-on value. You get a lot of years out of him. It's a smaller wage. With Tonali, you're still going to have to give him a decent wage, but there's still sell-on value there. You get more years out of him, and that's the way Manchester United will be looking at it. If we go and spend 90 million on Tonali, we've got sell-on value. We have got him for multiple years, and that's why I think Tonali would probably be more likely for Manchester United. I've said I'd take either. Bruno G and Tonali are both top quality, Premier League proven, physical midfielders that would improve Manchester United's midfield. But if we're not going to get Elliot Anderson, which I'm starting to reside to, and it aligns with what I was told earlier, Tonali would be an excellent option. And I don't think it is a coincidence, right? And get your comments in, I'm going to come to them in just a second. I do not think it is a coincidence that it's coming up to that March international break and that point in the season where serious, ambitious clubs start getting summer transfer business lined up. Like, Elliot Anderson isn't going to sign for Manchester City in March. He's not. But you get the transfers lined up and ready to go, especially when there's a World Cup year. You want to get in there. You want to get your foot in the door. You want to pitch your project. You start getting these transfers lined up. We've seen it multiple times before. And I don't think it's a coincidence that the news from multiple different people and within the industry, and it feels as if it's basically a well-known fact that Anderson's everything but the contract he signed with Manchester City. That's what I've been told. I've not got it direct from the horse's mouth, but that's what's going out there. And Manchester United are suddenly, Sandro Tonali, Bruno G, like the links to these players keep heating up from everywhere. Sandro Tonali sort of came out of nowhere and now it feels like he's top of our list. It might be because Manchester United have sort of resided into the fact that they might not win that race, just like they didn't win the Semenyo race. They'd be there, they'd fight for it, but they're not going to be able to go and put 350 grand a week on the table for Elliot Anderson. And I'm not saying that's what Manchester City are going to do, but they will offer a high wage. They did it to get Gay over the line. They will offer a high wage, and they'll be able to give a higher wage than what Manchester United will now that we have changed our wage structure and we're unwilling to break it. They will be able to go to him. You're going to be the main man in our midfield. Bernardo Silva is leaving. Pep Guardiola is staying. We're going to build a midfield around you and look at the trophies we've won in the past years, and this is what we're planning to do. We've already got Gay on board in January. We've gone and got Semenyo. You're the next piece to our puzzle. We want to build this elite team that's going to dominate for years to come. City can go and pitch that. City can go and pitch that very easily. You're going to be working under one of the best managers in the world. He is going to stay. That's if Pep is staying. We don't know. Whereas United don't really have much to pitch to Elliot Anderson right now. So that's why we might be pivoting to different players. And what you would say about Sandro Tonali, I mean, another report came in, by the way, from The Sun, so maybe take it with a bit of a pinch of salt. Real Madrid are reportedly showing interest in signing Sandro Tonali from Newcastle in the upcoming summer transfer window. But I know people say take The Sun with a pinch of salt, but I won't be surprised if Real Madrid were interested. He's that calibre of player. He's that good that Madrid would be interested. 25 years of age, why wouldn't they be? They are looking for a midfielder, Madrid. That's very, very well reported. Why wouldn't Tonali be on their list? So if Arsenal are in there, if Madrid end up being in there, it'll be competitive. This is what happens when you're trying to build a team with top quality players to compete in the Champions League and the Premier League. You are going to be up against the big boys. And Manchester United are one of the biggest clubs in the world, the biggest club in England, but we have not shown our capabilities to compete at the highest level within the last decade. We've had peaks and troughs. We have not been as successful competitively as the likes of a Madrid and Arsenal haven't won trophies, but they're right in touching distance. A Manchester City, you know, a Liverpool even. And United need to be able to get these players in to be competitive. We don't want to keep bouncing in and out of the Champions League. We want to stay there and we want to compete. And we've got to try and get the best quality players in to do that and to be able to win these transfer battles again, because we can win a transfer race when we need to. It's Manchester United and we still have got that, but we're not going to win every single one. It's just not going to happen anymore because we've not been as competitive as we've needed to be for a club of this stature. But with Sandro Tonali, I just wanted to quickly touch on him before I move on. We've got some stuff to bring in about the left wing area of Manchester United. The reason why Delap's on the thumbnail, we can't let this happen because sometimes we fixate so much on Premier League proven, and that is important, but experience is also important. And, you know, scouting right across Europe is also really important. We're going to touch on that. But with Sandro Tonali, he basically ticks every box of what you would want. The only thing, like I said, with the partnership of him and Kobbie Mainoo, I would be a little bit concerned about is that aerial capabilities that Casemiro brings, but you've got to make that up in other areas, and that's where you maybe look to the third midfielder that you bring in, or the second midfielder even that you bring in, because if we do go and buy Tonali, I still expect at least one, but ideally two, more top midfielders to come through the door. But he's got physical presence, he can win aerial duels, it's not his absolute best attribute, but he can do it. It's not as if he's incompetent. You know, he's got great anticipation. He gets around the pitch super well. He's got a huge engine. I think his work rate and his fitness levels and the way he can get around the pitch and his physicality, and if you pair that with Kobbie Mainoo and his composure and his technical ability and his ability on the ball, I think it makes a really, really good team. I mean, he's also got it in him to contribute to the attack. He's got a good shot from distance. He can put the ball in the back of the net. He's got a good eye of the pass. You know, he's on free kicks. Like, he can contribute from an attacking point of view. And if you're looking for a midfielder to anchor that Manchester United midfield, when you're playing at a club like Manchester United, when you're playing at a club like Arsenal, when you're playing at top level club and you're holding the midfield, you've not only got to be able to break up the play, get a tackle in, show great anticipation of where to be on the pitch to stop counter-attacks and intercept and tackle and get the ball back and smell danger, but you've also got to be able to contribute to the attack. You've got to have an eye of a pass. You've got to be able to contribute in the final third. So Tonali ticks boxes not only defensively, but offensively as well, which I think would be really important for Manchester United. You know, he can break the lines with his passing, and that's something that Manchester United are desperate for when it comes from midfielders as well. So get in the comments what you think about that. Would you be frustrated with the Elliot Anderson situation, City maybe being able to offer more and him basically signing for them? And would you be okay with it if Sandro Tonali did come in? Keep getting your comments in though. Going to come to them in just a second, and smash a like on the video. We have, by the way, I think there's so many people in the comments saying that Manchester United have zero chance of getting Sandro Tonali, and I don't think that's the case whatsoever. Although Manchester United are not going to just be able to walk up to a player and say, well, Manchester United signed for us, that won't wash anymore. We have still got multiple different things that we can offer a player. Being a starter in a Manchester United midfield that is on a project to rebuild and be highly competitive again is attractive to a player, but it's what are we going to be able to sell? Who is the manager going to be? How ambitious are we going to be? Are we going to keep Bruno Fernandes? Because Bruno Fernandes is only going to stay if it's an ambitious project. We've got to show ambition for sure. And I do think Manchester United will spend big. I don't think we'll spend big on wages, but I think we'll spend big on transfer fees. It's just spending big in the right areas. And that sort of brings me on to my next point. So this is coming out from Rich Fay. Manchester United targeted Premier League experience in the market last summer and felt there was less risk attached to the deals for Matheus Cunha and Bryan Mbeumo because of their track records in the English top flights. They considered doing the same in attack and in goal, with Liam Delap their initial dream target to lead the line last season, but they ended up with Benjamin Sesko. And at the same time, we were going to go for Emi Martinez, we ended up with Seny Lammens. I mean, I'm the first person to say Premier League proven, Premier League proven, Premier League proven. Them signings often have a better chance of working out, but you've got to go for the right Premier League proven players. And you've also got to think about age and experience. And you've got to scout overall as well. Just because a player is playing in the Premier League does not mean they're a better player than someone playing in the Bundesliga. You've got to do your research, you've got to trust your scouts, and that is where I think Manchester United got the balance right, luckily, last summer. I mean, Benjamin Sesko wasn't even in our top 4, 5 options. I think we started off with Liam Delap, then we pivoted to Victor Gyökeres, and then we pivoted to Hugo Ekitike, and then I think eventually we went down the road of Benjamin Sesko. And it's a good job we didn't get Delap. He looked good against Wrexham, but overall for Chelsea, João Pedro is just miles ahead in my opinion. And Liam Delap would not have been the answer for Manchester United. He plays very much like Højlund, and I don't think he's got the experience that is needed to play at that level for Manchester United as of now. He wouldn't, I don't think, have been successful in leading the line in hindsight. Victor Gyökeres, very happy we didn't go down that road either. He's a player, for example, that has experience, but I think his replacement for Sporting Lisbon this season is ending up getting a ridiculous amount of goals as well. So it shows maybe that league isn't, I don't want to disrespect the Portuguese league because some really good players come from there. I mean, Bruno Fernandes has come from there. But it's a different kettle of fish to come playing in the Premier League. And then you look at Hugo Ekitike, to be fair, he is a massive baller. Like, I wouldn't have minded ending up with him. But Benjamin Sesko, he was well scouted by Christopher Vivell, by the scouting department, and it proved to be the right signing in the end. We also looked at Ollie Watkins. He's a name that we missed out. And we were going to go for him just because he's Premier League proven. And I will sit here and say I was probably veering more towards Ollie Watkins. I never thought Ollie Watkins had the potential of an Erling Haaland or an Alexander Isak. I never thought he was that level of striker. But I thought he was a decent enough Premier League striker who we could at least put up front. We knew was going to win battles against centre-backs, make it difficult, run the channels, and he could score a goal. I mean, my standard was low because, I mean, I was desperate for a striker that could just maybe bully a centre-back in Manchester United. But we ended up going down the right road with Benjamin Sesko. So as much as we say Premier League proven, as much as we say players need experience, you've got to know when and who and how. And that's why you've got to trust your scouts as well. For the midfield, I don't want to take risks. I still stand by the fact that Benjamin Sesko and Seny Laamans were risks. There were risks worth taking, looking at it, but they were risks. For the midfield, I think we need to do a mixture, exactly like we did with the attack. You've got to go for the Premier League proven with experience, not the Premier League proven inexperience like a Liam Delap. You've got to go for the Premier League proven with experience. And then you've also, you can look across Europe at a young up-and-coming talent maybe. Whoever fits that bill the best. Because if you get in two, like we did with Cunha and Mbeumo, Premier League proven midfielders, then the third one that you get in, you can take that more of a risk like we did with the likes of Benjamin Sesko, the striker. So we've got to get that balance right. And I think probably out of luck, we got it right in the summer, but we managed to get there and we listened to Vivell, thankfully. And thankfully, I mean, I was team Ollie Watkins purely just because I didn't want to take the risk because I've been so scarred by poor signings in the past that have been risky. But now we can look at that last summer as a blueprint and say, go and get your two Premier League proven midfielders in that have basically a guaranteed success rate, and then you can afford to be a bit more risky with that third signing, because I still stand by, to this day, that I don't think Benjamin Sesko would have developed into the player that we've seen now if we didn't have Cunha and Mbeumo. Cunha and Mbeumo allowed Sesko to develop because the pressure wasn't all on Sesko straight away. He wasn't in the team straight away because we had good enough players to lead the line and play up front to nurture him in. If he missed a chance, that isn't what would be talked about at the end of a game because Mbeumo scored. Like, we had players that could take that burden off his shoulders. So Benjamin Sesko was allowed to develop. If you would have chucked Benjamin Sesko into a team with Garnacho and Antony on left and right wing, I don't think you'd see the same Benjamin Sesko as we're seeing now. So you've got to develop players in the right way. If you went and chucked in, a young European midfielder into a midfield that is inexperienced and doesn't have, the quality to nurture them in and, provide them with that foundation, you wouldn't see the best version of them. If you create a midfield next season where you've got Tonali and Mainu, or Tonali and, for example, say if you did get a Tonali and an Anderson, even though I think Anderson's going to be basically off the table, boy, what it's looking like, or you go and get a Tonali and somebody else who a lot of people want. I mean, not a lot of people don't want Bully, but if you go and get two seriously high quality players, you can afford to take a bit of a risk with that third player coming in. And I think that's something that Manchester United need to look at as well going into the summer. And a lot of people talk about Angelo Stiller. I don't know how far down he's dropped on that list of midfielders for Manchester United, but he'd be very intriguing. If you go out and get a player like a Tonali, you can look in them sort of directions and think, can we get a little bit of a steal from a European team of someone that's come in, got quality, and can take us forward? I know Angelo Stiller is a lot more experienced than the likes of Benjamin Sesko when he was coming in, but it's something that Manchester United, I think, need to do, and they need to learn from what nearly could have been quite a big mistake with that Liam Delap transfer. They were hell-bent on it. If Manchester United would have won the Europa League, Liam Delap would be playing up front for us right now. So we've got to learn from that near miss of what we need to do come the summer transfer window with the midfield. Willie Wilson says Tonali/Stiller and Anderson. I can't see us in a month for Sundays having Tonali and Anderson with the price that's going to cost, but I think that would be a lot of people's dreams, wouldn't it? We have Daniel Thompson saying, in previous seasons, you could probably get away taking a risk here and there with some players, but this summer we have to get the very best, no mistakes, no risks. The whole window has to be a home run. Yeah, I completely agree with you. And I felt that about last window, which is why I was so adamant on going Premier League proven route. But the signings of Senny Lamens and Benjamin Sesko has given me a little bit more faith in trusting our scouts, trusting Vivell. And as long as we do the Mbeumo and Cunha approach with the midfield, I'm open to looking at players and prospects out there, because you can get some really good players, and we shouldn't write off other leagues just because of the Premier League proven aspect of it. We've got to make sure that we are... There's players out there that have so much ability that Manchester United could bring in. For example, Senny Lamens that people aren't talking about. So we've got to do both to make sure we function right on the financial side of things, but we can also nurture talent and develop talent through as well. But look, last thing I wanted to bring in was a little bit of news surrounding Marcus Rashford. So this is coming in from Andy Mitten. If Barcelona don't agree to the terms and option to buy of a €30 million set out in the loan when Marcus Rashford's contract is up in June, then he returns to Old Trafford with a year of his contract left to run. There will be no renegotiation, and United feel there will be no shortage of suitors for a player who has proved his worth in La Liga. United do not recognise rumours that Carrick or the club wants Rashford back, and financially the numbers do not add up when it comes to him playing for United again. He earns too much, and his United contract, which runs until 2028, is loaded toward the 28-year-old earning even more. So that is, in my opinion, straight brief, sort of probably out of the club, which, fair enough. Andy Mitten has very, very good links to the club. He's a very good journalist. But with Marcus Rashford, that is Manchester United saying, pay up or don't bother, we'll sell him to someone else. And that's saying to Marcus Rashford, don't think you're just going to dig your heels in and go to Barcelona no matter what. Barcelona are paying. And if they want you, they'll pay. You have shown what you can do in La Liga. He earns too much to fit into Manchester United's wage structure. Look, when Manchester City are out there offering 350 grand a week or 300 grand a week to players, and United, are unwilling to offer big money anymore in their wage structure. I mean, for me personally, I just want the best players. I'm not really fussed about the wage. If a player is good enough, they deserve a big wage. I'd give Bruno Fernandes a wage increase in the summer for him to stay. I would. He deserves it. There's no other player at Manchester United who deserves it more. I think Bruno Fernandes is a 350, 400 grand a week player. But Manchester United now have this wage structure in place. Rashford doesn't fit into it. The club don't want to bring him back. I don't think Carrick necessarily is sat there saying, bring Rashford back in the summer. I think he'd be open to it, but I don't think he's demanding anything right now. And I think overall, it's best for both parties, for Rashford to stay at Barcelona or take another European move, and for Manchester United to kind of close that chapter on their end. He doesn't fit into the wage structure, and there's been no signs at all that they want him to come back. I think it wasn't just Amorim who wanted to move him out, the hierarchy did as well. So with Marcus Rashford, that just seems like a straight up sort of a statement without a statement from Manchester United. Barcelona need to pay up, and they should pay up. I am completely with Manchester United on this, by the way. They are already getting a fantastic deal with Marcus Rashford. £26 million it adds up to, they would get Marcus Rashford for. And he's a great player for them, a good squad player for them. I know he doesn't start every game, but he's been great off the bench in certain games. He's provided good amount of goals and assists to their team. And when he's not the main man of the team, which he's not having to be at Barcelona, I think that's where you get the best out of him, where the whole team isn't on his back. So Barcelona are getting a very good deal. Don't try and milk it even more just because you know it's where Rashford wants to go and Manchester United want to sell. They will try and do that because they're business people and they'll try and squeeze every last penny out of it as they can. I can understand that from their point of view. They want the best deal. But Manchester United are right to hold firm on this. And I think if Manchester United do hold firm throughout the summer, eventually that deal will get done. But when it comes to other European clubs lining up to go and get him, I can understand why other clubs would be interested, but no one's going to be interested in paying over 300 grand a week for him. Who's going to be interested in paying over 300 grand a week for Marcus Rashford? I don't see clubs lining up for that wage. So Man United would have to take a hit anyway on reducing the wage and sort of paying off that part of his contract. Wesley Coolham says, average signing of players since 2020 to now is 5.14. Average signings of players since 2023 to now is 5.25. Average signings since Ineos have joined in 24 to now is 4.67. We aren't signing 8 players. Do you know what, Wesley? That is an absolutely fantastic super chat. And let's just say we sign 5 players in the summer. If you're saying on average we're signing around 5 players, right? This is a big summer. We've got to sign 5. I'd say even 6. I said it on the show the other day. 2 midfielders at least, 3 if I'm being greedy, and I think we should be greedy. If we're looking to compete in Europe, in the Champions League, we've got to go and get 3. Left back, right back, left winger, 6. 6 players. United needs 6 players in the summer. We have to buy 6 players. I don't think we're going to sign 8. I don't think we're going to sign 10, like some people say. But people saying be realistic. I'm trying to be realistic. We need a left back. We need a right back. Why am I doing it on two hands? You're telling me we don't need 3 midfielders. Casemiro is going. Ugarte is probably going to move on as well. I hope Bruno stays, but it's not solidified. I think he will stay. But you can't just have Bruno and Mainu. You need 3 other midfielders in there. You need 3. I honestly do believe you need 3. And then we need a left back and a right back, and we need a left winger. Especially with Marcus Rashford going, I think we will replace that left wing area. And I know Cunha can play there. But with Cunha, he can play across the front 3. It's not as if he's an out-and-out left winger. We probably need that versatile touchline left winger. And that's actually another very good example of what I mean about Premier League proven. Premier League proven is very good in some aspects if the player is there. But I'm not going to... People have been saying, should we go and get Somerville? Because he might get relegated with West Ham and he looks pretty decent and it's Premier League proven. Look, Somerville's a good player. But I'm going Yan Diomande every day of the week. Yan Diomande is tearing it up for Leipzig. I mean, I've watched him quite a few times. He's brilliant. He's 19. He's got raw ability. He's got pace. He's got, that element to his game where you just don't know what he's going to do. He's going to get the crowd off your feet. He's that left winger that we need, that left winger that we are missing in our squad. Of someone who is going to be so unpredictable for the fullback they're against. That is my top left wing target, but he's not out of the Premier League and he's not exactly the most experienced. But I think, again, we can afford to go down that road. He's only 19 because, one, he's proving it consistently for Leipzig of how good a player he is. But 2, you've already got Dorgy, you've already got Cunha, you've got Mbeumo, you've got Ahmad. It's not an all or nothing type of signing. Don't get me wrong. I want, if we did sign Yan Diomande, who is my top left wing target, I want him to be successful. And I think he will be successful. But it's not do or die because you've got other players who can play that position very well, proven players. Whereas the midfield, that really is do or die for us. We cannot get it wrong. There's nobody else who can play there. You've got no one else. You've got no Casemiro to rely upon. Ugarte isn't the answer. We know that. So we have to get the midfield signing right. And that's kind of where I'm at. You can afford to take more of a risk with the left winger because we've got good players who can play there. With the midfield, we just don't. So that's why. And that's why Seny Lammens was extremely risky in the summer because Bayindir and Onana were not up to it. And Seny Lammens had to be the answer. Thank God he was. Thank God he was. Thank God he was. That's all I'm going to say. But look, everyone, I've been going on for far too long. Honestly, I just wanted to update you guys surrounding Tonali. I think he is moving in to being our top target. And we can't make same mistakes we might have done previously. We've got to go into this summer with the ambition and the know-how of where we're going, who the manager's going to be, what the project's going to be. And if we miss out on Elliot Anderson, who is next? Who is next in line and are they going to be good enough to be a starting midfielder for Manchester United come the start of next season? Same with other positions as well. We've got to attack this window with ambition. We've got to attack this window with aggression. And personally, it just doesn't sit right with me that Man City are going to win transfer battles with us because they're going to be able to offer more of a wage and more of a project. But that's where Manchester United need to get on their A game and go out there and compete. they have to go out there and compete, and we have to have a good window, and that starts now. And there's so many different factors that come into it. But the midfield saga continues. Whereas we did think I was probably going to be saying that Elliot Anderson would sign for Manchester United come the summer, the reality is now that it's looking very likely he goes to City. But Sandro Tonali, moving right up there in the list for Manchester United. But look, everyone, thank you so much for getting involved in the show. Before I leave you, remember we've got so much football coming up this week on That's Football and the United Stand. We have a jam-packed week on That's Football. Tonight, we start the evening with an early kick-off, Galatasaray versus Liverpool at 5:45. And then we will switch over to another big game, which is Newcastle versus Barcelona at 8 p.m. Both games with a Goldbridge watch-along. Make sure you stay tuned. And then tomorrow evening, we have the double header of Leverkusen versus Arsenal at 5:45 p.m. and Real Madrid versus Manchester City at 8 p.m. Got some bangers of Champions League games. And then on Friday, we have Bundesliga Friday for you with Mönchengladbach versus St. Pauli at the usual 7:30 kickoff with Goldbridge. And then, of course, you'll head into the Premier League weekend with loads of games being covered on That's Football. But look, everyone, thank you for getting involved. Smash a like on the video if you're not already. Comment down below, what would your ideal transfer window be for Manchester United this summer? And what would be your do's and don'ts for Manchester United transfer window this summer? Thank you for watching. I'll see you on the next one. Have a great day, everyone.